Good afternoon. I'm Loretta Randolph of the Weatherhead School of Management, Mod and MPOD Alumni Association, speaking with Dr. Diana Billamoria, the KeyBank Professor and Chair of the Department of Organizational Behavior here at Weatherhead School of Management. Good afternoon, Dr. Billamoria.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here, and a pleasure to be here with you on behalf of the Department of Organizational Behavior here at the Weatherhead School at Case Western Reserve University.
We're very excited to have this conversation with you. As we think about the faculty in the department and the contributions you've not only given to the world, but the fact that all of you have been seminal thinkers in the field, we wanted to capture those stories about your careers and your work, and then when we collect and collate all that information, to put it into a video to give back as a gift for the archives of the department.
Tremendously grateful to you and the MPOD group, the alumni, and all our faculty and our students are delighted that this is happening.
Oh, thank you. We'd like to start about the way that you got to be the KeyBank Professor and Chair, where you are now. All of us in our lives, if we're doing the work that we're meant to do and the work that we love, had at some point a knowing that what you were doing was the right thing. Can you tell me a little bit about how you got into the field and how you ended up at Case Western?
I'd be glad to do so. I grew up in Mumbai, India. I have a bachelor's of commerce, specializing in finance and accounting. And then I did my MBA. In my MBA, the path that I should have chosen was finance, because my father was a CPA and had that background. But I was drawn more to human resources and organizational development. And so in my MBA, I chose a different path, so to speak. And I think that was just the start of the whole journey going forward. I subsequently worked for a little less than a couple of years in the hotel business, mostly doing HR, recruitment, what was then called staffing and planning, which is really looking into the strategic vision into the future. That time it wasn't quite called those words. And doing a little bit of organizational development work as well. And so it was really an exciting time. I decided to come in to the U.S. to do a PhD and explore a little bit more of the world and, innovations that were occurring in different areas of HR and OD. It was a very vibrant time in the 80s, I want to say. I might be dating myself here a little bit. But I ended up going to the University of Michigan in Ann Arbor and spent 5 years there as a doctoral student in the PhD program there. Absolutely magnificent experience. Met some really forward-thinking, progressive, and leaders and preeminent thinkers. And then, came to Case Western Reserve University in the Department of Organizational Behavior, and continued on that same path. Great thinkers, seminal thoughts and ideas, concepts were so exciting. Innovations in thinking about what the human condition is and the human side of organizing, and how to create the kind of organizations that facilitate, empower, energize, and transform the lives of people, both within and outside, that bring the highest aspirations of human beings to the forefront of organizational principles, rather than just kind of putting them at the background. And, I was exposed to new ways of thinking, really, and I really began for the first time to understand the power and the transformative power, is what I mean, of management education and of leadership development. and organization development. And really met so many wonderful people here, all primarily on the faculty here, but also alums of the program, the PhD program, the MPOD program, both current students at the time and then subsequently became alums. So it was really a exciting, generative, eye-opening, and welcoming time that a young scholar who is still emerging into the field could not have asked for more.
So all of your academic career post PhD has been here.
Yes, I've been here. It's been almost 30 years, and it's just been a magnificent experience. I want to say, I don't mean it in a not aggrandizing way, but it's been very, very much of a learning experience. I've grown, I've contributed, I've been able to connect to many, many great individuals, but great thinking also. Collaborated, both on the research side, on the teaching side. Learned from really some stellar people, all about how it is to be as a professor, as a scholar, as a researcher, as a teacher, as a consultant to organizational leaders, as a change agent, and to use inquiry as the methodology for changing the world.
I'd like to continue along that path and have you talk a little bit about your work. You've talked about the opportunities you've had here, the exposure, the different ways that you've been able to work. But you've contributed greatly to the world, so I'd like you to talk a little bit about that. And also, if you could share with us, when did you know that your work was really making a difference, and how did you know that? However you want to define your work for this conversation, but when did you know, and how did you know it?
Fantastic question. So I can start by just saying what my work is. My work is really around the area of gender, diversity, and inclusion. And I'm interested particularly at the nexus of gender and diversity and inclusion with leadership and governance. That's really the niche that I am working in. And so the kinds of questions that I'm interested in are things like how can organizations best facilitate the leadership development of women and minority group members? What can we inform leaders in organizations about the development of confidence, the development of leadership, and what are the best ways by which we can bring about change in organizations? So I've tried to integrate organizational development and institutional transformation, whether it's in corporate settings or in academic settings, nonprofit settings. I've worked in all of those. And I try to enable and equip individuals and organizations with the capacity to bring about transformative change. That's really the work I do, whether it's teaching related, and I do a number of programs across different sectors, again, geared towards this very goal, or whether it's in the research realm, whether it's speaking in general to the public, or community-related activities and outreach. All of those are around the same central principles and the same coherent identity. And that's the value added that I think, I can offer, is that I bring a wealth of experiences and a wealth of knowledge around these topics. And I'm able to offer that in many different settings. The settings almost, of course we have to be sensitive to what the context is and so on, but the principles of how to be as a leader and how to engage others to bring about a shared vision, a shared sense of urgency to create the changes that are needed. These are the kinds of things that I can offer. Your question was, how do I know that that we're making a difference at all? That's a really, it might be better answered by other people rather than by me. I'm often, I work with people who are at first level supervisory positions, who are just beginning their managerial careers, seasoned executives, and senior leaders. So there's a whole gamut that I work with, organization types as well. I think the main piece for me is that a person could, or an organization, or they leave feeling like they can see something that they may not have seen before, or that they can see in themselves something that they may not have seen before, or may not even have imagined as possible. When that happens, I'm excited and energized and fulfilled. And so I don't know if that directly answers the question.
Does. No, it absolutely
but
does.
I think that's the feeling I have, and that's when I get that sense from other people that the limitations that they are imposing on themselves can be opened up. Not in every case. Everybody has different life circumstances, different responsibilities, and different commitments. These must be honored and engaged with. And the boundaries that we all place on ourselves, the limitations we see sometimes because of our backgrounds or because of our experiences in the past. When we open those up and examine them in a more informed way, bringing in knowledge from the outside, from theory, from experience, from other people's experiences, and so on, that is a moment of transformation that is very energizing.
Yeah. And it sounds like no matter where it is, whether it's a classroom in an organization with individuals.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
You talked a little bit about the environment you found as a young academic coming to CASE, and so you've risen from a new faculty to chair over those years. So you've seen a lot of changes. Yes. You've seen a lot of even more innovation. What is it that you haven't already mentioned about the school, about the department that's kept you here all those years and that has wanted you to move in the way that you've moved? What is it about the environment here that is either nurtured or encouraged or whatever words you use that you haven't mentioned?
Yeah. You know, my experience has been that this is a place that has very high expectations for excellence and innovation. And that there is freedom to conduct your work in almost any direction within that framework. You know, as long as you're innovating, as long as you're doing things for the betterment of the human condition, as long as you're advancing the knowledge base, as long as you're energizing and inspiring students and others in organizations, there's almost no limits as to what you can do. And so it's a very empowering, very engaging. A lot of the work we do is in collaborations both within the department, sometimes within the school, and most often within the discipline and within other kinds of organizations that we collaborate in our efforts to, engage and develop human beings.
That's a very powerful statement. That excellence is the norm, and innovation is the norm.
Yeah.
And those are the boundaries, and whatever you do within those boundaries.
Right. That's been my experience.
That sounds like it's a very exciting place to work.
Yeah, and there is a lot of support from other faculty members. And when I started off, I was the one receiving most of the support. Mm-hmm. And now I try to give back most of the support. Mm-hmm. But I still receive. I receive more than I get, frankly. And as I engage with people in the department, whether it's students in the PhD program, students in our MPOT program, which, by the way, is in the top, both our PhD program and our MPOT program are the top ranks of programs of their kind. And that doesn't just happen by accident. That doesn't just happen because we just come together and pull things together on an ad hoc basis. That happens because there's a committed group of individuals who understand that the world is changing and are open to adapting, open to not just reacting but leading in bringing about changes, being very conscious about how we develop and educate and the knowledge base that we advance. And that's really how I think of our department. We're a group of committed individuals who are trying to engage the world in ways that are beneficial and advance the human side of organizing.
Very simple, but very powerful. When you think about the many definitions around change and organizations, and yours is so straightforward and powerful, and the fact that that's what the faculty is doing here.
And that's my sense of it. And and our vision as a department is to bring together research and education of consequence that makes a difference to the world and makes a difference at all levels, individual to societal. And at the same time uses methodologies that are rigorous, that are well developed and well validated, so that the methods that we use to get to the ends that we aspire to are they're solid, they're well grounded, and they're helpful to advance in the sense that we want to get to the outcomes that we aspire to. So we bring together, doing work of consequence, and I include research and education in that, with methodologies that are context sensitive, that are open to the kinds of changes that our methods need to have as things improve and change in the world, that are technologically savvy. These are very important things to bring together, so that it's not just the vision and it's not just the reality, but both have to come together. Yeah.
I want to open up thinking a little broader and talk a little bit about the future. Future is built on bringing the best of what we want to know from the past, but it's also built on our dreams and hopes for our preferred future. Reflecting on your career, the many roles you've had, the role you currently have, the leadership role you have in the field, what are your hopes for the future of the field?
That's a big question.
It's a big question.
And a very important
big
one.
Answers.
Yeah, and a very important one, too. I think that the future of management, education, and research, I kind of put them all together. I think that the future of management, education, and research is vital to the progress of the planet. And it is, today business is more than just, doing things for profitability and doing things just for shareholders. We moved more into a stakeholder appreciation. We know that business is the agent for getting things changed in the world. In some cases, multinationals are far bigger than the governments of the countries in which they operate. The budgets and their capacity for change is huge. And that's why management education is so vital. There are literally millions of people today who are getting educated in management programs across the world. And I mean it. I literally mean millions of people, whether it's executive education or whether it's undergraduate education or MBA or organizational development or any other program. So opportunity is so vast for the kind of education that will make the world better. So that when we can help to develop the kind of values, the kind of character, the kind of leadership that is necessary to take our world to a better place, to leave the world better tomorrow than it is today, to leave the planet better tomorrow than it is today, to leave people with the capacity to make sure that future generations can thrive. This is what management education's promise is, and this is what I can see that sometimes we may fall short a little bit, but the potential and the opportunity are there, and we must harness it and must realize it. And I see that across the world there is a recognition that this is happening or coming. In some cases it's already here, and in some cases it's happening. So,
And much of what you and your faculty are doing is continuing to push that forward.
we are at the cutting edge, I would say. We are one of the most innovative departments. We're one of the most leading edge thinkers and change agents and scholarly change agents. So we use our scholarship.
That's a good term. That's a
we
good
use our
term.
scholarship
Yeah.
to drive the change, and we use our programs, such as our MPOT program, where we share that knowledge and that scholarship to empower individuals to take it out into the world, to be the activists of change.
One last question, and then if we can feel free to add anything else you'd like to add to our conversation. But reflecting on your work, how would you like to be remembered, and how would you like your work to be remembered?
Wow.
Another big question.
Yeah, I'm a little.
was
I'm a little
taught-
too small for that big
Okay,
question.
okay.
I hope that the people that I've worked with can see themselves and their worlds in bigger and more, and see the opportunity in those worlds more. If that's what I can be, my work can be remembered for, then I'm
You're good.
delighted.
That's wonderful. Any other comments or thoughts that you'd like to add?
I just want to thank you and thank your colleagues on our MPOT Alumni Association, and thank our faculty, thank our students. This is everything we do is a collective endeavor, and there's so many different moving parts that sometimes they move so fast you can't recognize everything. But I want to take a moment to just recognize that there's so many wonderful people around us who do so many wonderful things, whether it's our staff, both in our MPOT program as well as in our PhD area, our faculty, our alums, our current students, everybody, the administration of the school, God bless them, and so on. I just want to take that moment to thank everybody and recognize the wonderful work that everybody is doing.
Thank you. That's greatly appreciated.
Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Okay. Thank you so much, Dr. Billamoria. It's been a pleasure.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you again.